For those that are new here or just catching this, me and John are crypto miners. We used to be hobbyists, and now we've started a complete mine. We've went from one or two machines into full blown, full scale, pushing this on to the next level, and we're here to document our journey. No one said this was going to be easy for building a mine or just running a company in general. And if anybody has experienced anything within the market as of recently, uh, and you're crypto related, you should know basically about the same experience that we're going through. No industry is hated right now more than crypto. And to give you a little bit of insight of that, so in previous streams we talked about working on a surety bond. And the surety bond essentially secures our deposit for the 35 megawatt facility. And so we've been working on that. Initially, the power company was like, hey, if you're going to be turning on, anything at your 35 megawatt facility, we need a $500,000 deposit for the substation that's there and everything like that. And me and John were flabbergasted for the most part. That's probably putting it lightly as to like the requirement, why, like there was no really rhyme reason why, things like that. They're like, well, you have access to more power through a direct substation, so you're on the hook for that. We need to protect our shareholders is basically what was told to us by the power company. Going back and forth a couple months, power company finally reduced the deposit to $250,000. It was actually like 282 or something, like $282,000. So like, okay, so we started looking into the surety bond. Typically a surety bond, this is something like an electrician would get if they need temporary power somewhere, or like if you're a company that wants to get licensed and bonded, same thing. These are imposed, or you buy a bond. Usually, you pay a couple grand and you get a few, $20,000-$30,000 worth of coverage, which is a normal deposit for a mine at our size. $15,000 as an electric company, that they would charge that normally as a security deposit for someone that has bad credit or something like that, or a deposit needed to run energy services. So we're expecting that it may be like for a bond for the size that we need would be roughly about, maybe 20 grand or a couple $1,000, depending on just how they set it up. And the bond company finally came back and they approved us. Yay, right? They approved us. However, they wanted $26,000 to initiate a $282,000 bond. And they want half of the bond coverage to be secured by us by a collateral, which basically is $120,000, locked into a surety bond approved bank, which that happens to be a normal institution. So right now we're kind of going through trying to figure out what banks they approved or are approved for them to hold this surety bond. Because we've literally been unbanked by like four of the large national banks. The only one that we haven't tried yet, and I do not want to go towards is JPM. Like I just have no. I don't want to use their bank. As sketchy as that, like there's just a lot of history with JP Morgan Chase that is just not. I'm not on the same level ethic wise that it makes me feel uncomfortable wanting to deal with them. So we, being transparent with the bond company, we're like, hey, we can't do business with PNC, B of A. There was another one that I named too. Wells Fargo. Like we've all been unbanked by all three of them. So we got to figure out a different bank that you guys are approved through. And hopefully we don't have to like go towards Chase, unfortunately. It says it's a struggle. This is not an easy venture. And in the end, it's going to be all worth it. But we're not here to show the glamour of everything and tell you guys about, hey, we're doing this, we're doing that, because a lot of our streams are about, hey, we're growing, we've expanded to this, we got a power company, we're you got this 25,000 square foot building, we're making things, machines are coming in, and it's not, so it's just not it's not all roses. And we're going to be the first to tell you guys what it is, what's going on. And you guys, and if anybody's been following us at all, you've seen there's, again, video footage. We've blown these transformers before. We don't know why. There's a disconnect somewhere. We're running. Nothing is going off inside the actual shop. It's all externally. We don't know why. Yep.
Yeah, I spoke with one of the engineers today that came out to swap out the transformers and the cans on the pole, and I was explaining him the situation. It's a 24,000 square foot building. Very little power runs through the building except for where we want it to go. We've gone through, double checked, triple checked everything that's been cut and ripped out, thinking that maybe there's a short, there's a backfeed, there's something going on, because we're blowing the same transformer roughly every time. So maybe there's a backfeed. Maybe one transformer is feeding another transformer because our voltage is off. We're not tripping anything inside. Our switch gears are not tripping. Our PDUs are not tripping out. The individual breakers that the miners are on. So to break it down, each miner has its own breaker, feeds into a PDU. Each PDU has its own breaker. And then there's a breaker before you get to the switchgear, which switchgear itself is another breaker. So we have 4 or 5 breakers along the way, creating tons of resistance, but it's all in the name of safety. None of those safety setups are tripping or faulting out or having any issue at all. What's having the issue is the pole. So between here and the pole, something's going on. There's old wires that no one's picked up on. There's some kind of backfeed issue. Something is going on in that disconnect. And the engineer that was there today said the same thing, more or less. This doesn't make sense. I see your switchgear. What's on the pole matches what's in the switchgear. And we were told by the power company we're pulling 180% through the transformers. That should have immediately triggered our switchgear to fault and trip out, but it never did.
Yeah.
Never did. We reduced power at their request. We had a high windstorm and a transformer blew. We reduced power and a transformer blew. We didn't increase power, we reduced power. That doesn't make any sense, in any universe. So we're fighting the good fight because we've gone through so many transformers. That's another bill that they want to stick us with. Usually 1 or 2 they'll cover, hey, they're old, we'll swap them out, no problem. But we're going on like 3 and 4 here. So they're sticking us with a bill
Right.
that we're trying to avoid because there's something unforeseen happening that is beyond us and beyond what they're seeing as a power company that we need to figure out, because just throwing a bill at us and swapping the cans doesn't prevent this problem from happening again and again and again. So that's my frustration, and I'm not easily upset or nothing really gets underneath my skin, and this is starting to weigh on me because it's frustrating because I don't have answers, and I like to have answers.
Yeah. So that's the update on the mine. But we keep moving. So regardless of whatever hurdles put in front of us, we find a way to continue the positive movement.